Welcome, dear friends. Today I will share with you a compelling story of resilience, love, and an unexpected path to forgiveness and new beginnings. Enjoy the story. Emily Carter stood at the imposing gates of the sprawling mansion, her heart pounding with a mixture of hope and trepidation. This was her last chance, her final hope for finding a job and a place to call home. With a shaky hand, she pressed the buzzer, the sound echoing through the stillness of the morning air. A moment later, a gruff voice crackled through the intercom. "State your business," the voice demanded. Emily swallowed hard, her mouth suddenly dry. "My name is Emily Carter. I'm here about the housekeeping position." There was a pause, then a loud buzz as the gates swung open. Emily took a deep breath and stepped forward, her worn sneakers crunching on the gravel driveway. As she approached the front door, a burly security guard emerged, his eyes narrowed with suspicion. "Follow me," he grunted, leading her into the grand foyer. Emily's eyes widened as she took in the opulent surroundings, the gleaming marble floors, the crystal chandelier, the sweeping staircase. It was like something out of a fairy tale, a world she had never imagined herself being a part of. "Wait here," the guard said, gesturing to a plush velvet sofa. "Mr. Ashford will be with you shortly." Emily perched on the edge of the sofa, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. She had no idea what to expect, no idea if this Mr. Ashford would even give her a chance. But she had to try. She had nowhere else to go. Vincent Ashford strode into the room, his tailored suit and silver hair exuding an air of wealth and power. He paused when he saw Emily, his eyes widening slightly as he took in her delicate features and soulful eyes. "You must be Emily," he said, his voice deep and smooth. "I must say I'm surprised to see someone so young and beautiful applying for a housekeeping position." Emily felt her cheeks flush, but she met his gaze steadily. "I know I may not look like your typical housekeeper, Mr. Ashford, but I can assure you I'm hardworking and dependable. I'll do whatever it takes to earn my keep." Vincent studied her for a long moment, his expression unreadable. "Tell me, Emily, why do you want this job? Surely a woman like you has other options." Emily's throat tightened, tears pricking at the corners of her eyes. "I wish that were true, Mr. Ashford, but the truth is I have nowhere else to go." She took a deep breath, the words spilling out of her in a rush. "My husband was a gambler. He got in way over his head, and he ended up getting killed because of it. He left me with nothing but his debts that I've been trying to pay off ever since." Vincent's eyes softened, a flicker of sympathy crossing his face. "I'm sorry to hear that, Emily. That must have been very difficult for you." Emily nodded, brushing away a stray tear. "It was. I sold everything I had, my apartment, my car, even my wedding ring. But it still wasn't enough. I had to borrow money from friends, from colleagues. But when I couldn't pay them back, they all turned their backs on me." She looked up at Vincent, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "I'm not looking for pity, Mr. Ashford. I'm just looking for a chance to start over, to live a simple life, with a roof over my head and food in my belly. That's all I want." Vincent was silent for a long moment, his gaze thoughtful. Then he nodded, a small smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. "Well, Emily, it seems that we both have something in common. We've both lost people we love, and we're both looking for a fresh start." He stood up, extending his hand to her. "The job is yours, if you want it. Room and board included, of course." Emily's eyes widened, a spark of hope igniting in her chest. "Thank you, Mr. Ashford. Thank you so much. I promise you won't regret this." Vincent chuckled, his eyes crinkling at the corners. "Please call me Vincent, and I have a feeling I won't regret it at all." Emily quickly settled into her new role at the Ashford mansion, her days filled with dusting and polishing, laundry and cooking. It was hard work, but she found a sense of peace in the simple tasks, a feeling of purpose that had been missing from her life for far too long. Vincent insisted that she join him for dinner each night, a tradition that had started with his previous housekeeper, Martha. At first, Emily was hesitant, feeling out of place in the grand dining room with its crystal glasses and silver cutlery. But as the days turned into weeks, she found herself looking forward to their evening meals, to the easy conversation and the warmth of Vincent's smile. One night, as they lingered over coffee and dessert, Vincent's expression grew somber. "Emily, there's something I've been wanting to talk to you about," he said, his voice heavy with emotion. Emily set down her fork, her heart quickening with concern. "What is it, Vincent? Is everything all right?" Vincent sighed, running a hand through his silver hair. "It's my daughter Alexa. We used to be so close, but ever since her mother passed away, things haven't been the same." He stared into the flickering candlelight, his eyes distant. "She's been living abroad for the past 4 years, and our relationship has become so transactional. I send her money, she sends me the occasional email, but there's no real connection anymore, no warmth." Emily reached out and placed her hand over his, her heart aching for the pain she saw in his eyes. "I'm so sorry, Vincent. Losing a parent is never easy, and it can change a person in ways they never expected." Vincent looked up at her, a flicker of hope in his eyes. "What do you think I should do, Emily? How can I reconnect with my daughter?" Emily thought for a moment, then smiled softly. "Why don't you invite her to visit? Not just for a quick weekend, but for an extended stay. Give her a chance to see the life you've built here, to remember the happy times you shared as a family." Vincent's face brightened, a spark of excitement in his eyes. "You know, that's a wonderful idea. I'll send her an email first thing in the morning." He reached out and squeezed Emily's hand, his touch sending a shiver down her spine. "Thank you, Emily. You've been such a blessing in my life. I don't know what I would do without you." Emily blushed, her heart fluttering in her chest. "I'm just happy I could help, Vincent. You've given me a second chance at life, and I'll never be able to repay you for that." Vincent shook his head, a soft smile on his lips. "You don't owe me anything, Emily. Your friendship and your presence in this house are all the repayment I need." A week later, Alexa arrived at the mansion, a whirlwind of designer luggage and air kisses. Emily watched from the shadows as Vincent embraced his daughter, his eyes shining with love and hope. But there was someone else with Alexa, a man with slicked back hair and a sharp suit. Vincent's smile faltered as he took in the stranger, his brow furrowing with concern. "Alexa, who is this?" he asked, his voice tight. Alexa laughed, a high, tinkling sound that set Emily's teeth on edge. "Daddy, this is Steve, my boyfriend." Vincent's eyes widened, his gaze flicking between Alexa and Steve. "Boyfriend? But he's older than me, I know," Alexa finished, rolling her eyes. "But age is just a number, Daddy. Steve and I are in love, and that's all that matters." Emily felt a twist of unease in her gut as she watched the exchange. There was something about Steve that didn't sit right with her, a glint in his eye that spoke of hidden motives and ulterior intentions. But it wasn't her place to say anything. She was just the housekeeper, after all. So she busied herself with preparing dinner, trying to ignore the growing tension in the air. As they sat down to eat, Alexa's gaze fell on Emily, her eyes narrowing with suspicion. "Who's this, Daddy? Your new girlfriend?" Vincent choked on his wine, his face turning red. "Alexa, please. This is Emily, our new housekeeper. She's been an invaluable addition to the household." Alexa sniffed, her lips curling into a sneer. "A housekeeper, huh? Funny. She doesn't look like any housekeeper I've ever seen." Emily felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment, but she kept her head high. "I can assure you, Miss Ashford, I take my job very seriously. I'm here to serve your father and keep the house running smoothly. Nothing more." Steve leaned forward, his eyes raking over Emily's form. "Well, I for one think it's refreshing to have such a lovely addition to the staff. Don't you agree, Alexa?" Alexa's face twisted with jealousy, her eyes flashing with anger. "I think I've lost my appetite," she snapped, pushing back from the table. "Come on, Steve, let's go unpack." As they stalked out of the room, Vincent sighed heavily, his shoulders slumping with defeat. "I'm so sorry, Emily," he said, his voice weary. "I had hoped that Alexa's visit would be a chance for us to reconnect, to heal the rift between us. But it seems that I was mistaken." Emily reached out and placed a comforting hand on his arm, her heart aching for the pain she saw in his eyes. "Don't give up hope, Vincent," she said softly. "Alexa is still young, and she's clearly going through a difficult time. But she loves you, and she needs you now more than ever." Vincent looked up at her, a small smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. "Thank you, Emily. Your kindness and wisdom never cease to amaze me." The next few days were a whirlwind of tension and unease, with Alexa and Steve barely leaving their room. Emily tried to keep herself busy with her duties, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, that there was a storm brewing on the horizon. And then, one afternoon, everything came crashing down. Emily was dusting the bookshelves in Vincent's study when she heard raised voices coming from the hallway. She crept closer to the door, her heart pounding in her chest. "I want her gone, Daddy!" Alexa was shouting, her voice shrill with anger. "That little hussy is trying to seduce Steve, I just know it!" Vincent's voice was calm but firm. "Alexa, you're being ridiculous. Emily is a professional, and she would never do anything to jeopardize her job or her reputation." "Oh, please," Alexa scoffed. "I've seen the way she looks at him, the way she flirts and giggles like a schoolgirl. She's nothing but a gold-digging tramp, and I want her out of this house." Vincent sighed heavily, his voice tinged with frustration. "Alexa, listen to yourself. If you're so concerned about Steve's fidelity, perhaps you should take a closer look at your own relationship." There was a moment of shocked silence, then the sound of footsteps stomping away. Emily pressed herself against the wall, her heart racing with fear and confusion. What was going on? Why was Alexa so convinced that she was trying to steal Steve away? And why did Vincent seem so unconcerned about his daughter's accusations? Emily shook her head, trying to clear her thoughts. She had to focus on her job, on being the best housekeeper she could be. Everything else was just noise, just distractions from her true purpose. But even as she returned to her dusting, she couldn't shake the feeling of unease that had settled in the pit of her stomach. Something was coming, something big and terrible and life-changing, and she had no idea how to stop it. The next morning, Emily was in the kitchen, preparing breakfast for Vincent and his guests. She hummed softly to herself as she flipped pancakes and stirred the coffee, her mind focused on the tasks at hand. Suddenly, a scream echoed through the house, followed by the sound of shattering glass. Emily dropped the spatula and raced towards the commotion, her heart pounding with fear. She burst into the dining room to find Alexa standing over a broken vase, her face twisted with rage. Vincent was there too, his eyes wide with shock and disbelief. "It's gone!" Alexa shrieked, her voice trembling with anger. "Daddy's wallet is gone, and I know exactly who took it." She whirled around and pointed a shaking finger at Emily, her eyes blazing with accusation. "It was you, wasn't it? You little thief! You stole my father's money, just like you've been trying to steal my boyfriend." Emily's mouth fell open, her mind reeling with confusion. "What? No, I didn't take anything. I would never steal from your father, I swear it." Vincent stepped forward, his brow furrowed with concern. "Alexa, calm down. We don't know for sure that anything was stolen. Let's not jump to conclusions." But Alexa wasn't listening. She stormed over to Emily and grabbed her arm, her fingers digging into her skin. "I bet you have it hidden somewhere, don't you? In your room or maybe in your purse?" Emily tried to pull away, but Alexa's grip was too strong. "Please, let me go. I didn't do anything wrong." Vincent moved to intervene, but before he could, Steve appeared in the doorway, a smug smile on his face. "I think we should search her room," he said, his voice dripping with false concern. "Just to be sure, of course." Emily's heart sank as she realized what was happening. This was a setup, a trap designed to frame her for a crime she didn't commit. But there was nothing she could do. Alexa and Steve dragged her upstairs, tossing her room like a pair of wild animals. And there, hidden in the bottom of her purse, was Vincent's wallet, stuffed with $100 bills. Emily's knees buckled as she stared at the incriminating evidence, her mind spinning with disbelief. How had the wallet gotten there? Who had planted it, and why? But there was no time to ponder those questions. Alexa was already screaming for Vincent, her voice shrill with triumph. "See, Daddy? I told you she was a thief. She's been planning this all along, worming her way into our lives just so she could rob us blind." Vincent's face was a mask of shock and betrayal as he stared at Emily, his eyes searching hers for some sign of guilt or deceit. "Emily, is this true?" he asked, his voice hoarse with emotion. Did you take my wallet?" Emily shook her head frantically, tears streaming down her face. "No, Vincent, I swear it. I would never do something like that. Never in a million years." But even as she spoke the words, she knew they sounded hollow, unconvincing. The evidence was there, damning and irrefutable. She was trapped, caught in a web of lies and deceit that she had no hope of escaping. And as Vincent's face hardened with anger and disappointment, she knew that her life at the Ashford mansion was over, shattered like the vase that lay in pieces on the floor. Emily sat on the edge of her bed, her head in her hands as she tried to make sense of what had happened. How could everything have gone so wrong, so quickly? How could Alexa and Steve have turned Vincent against her, making him believe that she was nothing more than a common thief? A soft knock on the door startled her out of her thoughts. She looked up to see Vincent standing in the doorway, his face a mask of conflicting emotions. "Emily," he said, his voice heavy with regret, "I owe you an apology." Emily's eyes widened with surprise as Vincent stepped into the room, closing the door behind him. "I know you didn't take my wallet," he said, his gaze steady and unwavering. "I've had security cameras installed throughout the house, including in my office, and the footage shows exactly what happened." He took a deep breath, his shoulders slumping with exhaustion. "It was Alexa and Steve. They planted the wallet in your purse, trying to frame you for theft." Emily's heart raced with a mixture of relief and confusion. "But why?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Why would they do something like that?" Vincent sighed, running a hand through his silver hair. "I wish I knew. But what I do know is that I was wrong to doubt you, Emily. You've been nothing but loyal and trustworthy since the day you arrived, and I should have had more faith in you." He reached out and took her hand, his touch warm and comforting. "Can you ever forgive me?" Emily's eyes filled with tears as she looked up at Vincent, her heart swelling with gratitude and affection. "Of course I forgive you, Vincent. You're not the one who needs to apologize." Vincent smiled softly, his thumb stroking the back of her hand. "Thank you, Emily. Your kindness and understanding mean more to me than you could ever know." He helped her to her feet, his arm slipping around her waist. "Come on, let's go downstairs. There's something I need to take care of." As they descended the staircase, Emily's heart raced with anticipation. What was Vincent planning to do? How would he confront Alexa and Steve about their betrayal? But when they reached the foyer, they found it empty, save for a single piece of luggage sitting by the door. Vincent's face darkened with anger as he realized what had happened. "They're gone," he said, his voice tight with fury. "They must have realized that their little scheme had been discovered." He turned to Emily, his eyes softening with apology. "I'm so sorry, Emily. I never meant for you to get caught up in my family's drama." Emily shook her head, a small smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. "It's not your fault, Vincent. You can't control what other people do, no matter how much you love them." Vincent's eyes widened with surprise at her words, a flicker of something deeper and more intense passing between them. But before either of them could speak, the front door burst open, and Alexa stumbled into the foyer, her face streaked with tears. "Daddy!" she sobbed, throwing herself into Vincent's arms. "I'm so sorry. I made a terrible mistake." Vincent held his daughter close, his eyes closing with relief and exhaustion. "It's okay, sweetheart. We all make mistakes sometimes." Alexa pulled back, her gaze shifting to Emily. "Emily, I owe you an apology, too. I let my jealousy and insecurity cloud my judgment, and I treated you horribly. Can you ever forgive me?" Emily's heart softened at the genuine remorse in Alexa's voice. "Of course, Alexa. I understand how difficult this must be for you, and I don't hold any grudges." Alexa's face crumpled with gratitude, and she pulled Emily into a tight hug. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice choked with emotion. "Thank you for being so kind and understanding, even when I didn't deserve it." As the three of them stood there, united in their forgiveness and their love, Emily felt a sense of peace wash over her. This was what family was supposed to be, not perfect, not always easy, but always there for each other, no matter what. And as Vincent's hand slipped into hers, his fingers intertwining with her own, she knew that she had finally found the home and the family she had always dreamed of. The sun was setting over the Ashford mansion, casting a warm golden glow over the sprawling grounds. Emily and Vincent sat on the terrace, sipping glasses of wine and watching the colors dance across the sky. It had been a year since that fateful day when Alexa had returned, and so much had changed. Steve had been revealed as a con artist, disappearing with a sizable chunk of Alexa's trust fund. But rather than breaking her, the experience had made Alexa stronger, more determined to forge her own path in life. She had enrolled in college, studying art history, and finding a new sense of purpose and passion. And her relationship with Vincent had never been better, the two of them bonding over their shared love of beauty and culture. As for Emily and Vincent, their relationship had blossomed into something deeper and more profound than either of them had ever imagined. They had started as employer and employee, then become friends and confidants. But now, as they sat together in the fading light, their hands clasped and their hearts full, they knew that they were so much more than that. They were partners, lovers, soulmates, two lost souls who had found each other in the midst of heartbreak and betrayal and had never let go. Vincent turned to Emily, his eyes shining with love and devotion. "Emily," he said, his voice soft and tender, "there's something I've been wanting to ask you for a long time now." Emily's heart raced with anticipation as Vincent reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. "I know our journey hasn't been an easy one," he said, his voice trembling with emotion. "But through it all, you've been my rock, my guiding light. You've shown me what it means to love and be loved, and I can't imagine spending another day without you by my side." He opened the box to reveal a sparkling diamond ring, its facets catching the last rays of the setting sun. "Emily Carter, will you marry me?" Emily's eyes filled with tears of joy as she launched herself into Vincent's arms, her heart bursting with happiness and love. "Yes," she whispered, her voice choked with emotion. "Yes, Vincent, I will marry you. I will spend the rest of my life loving you, cherishing you, and building a future together." Vincent slipped the ring onto her finger, his own eyes shining with tears of joy. And as they held each other close, their lips meeting in a tender, passionate kiss, they knew that they had finally found their happily ever after. The road had been long and winding, filled with twists and turns that had tested their strength and their love. But through it all, they had persevered, holding on to each other and never letting go. And now, as they looked out over the beautiful, sprawling grounds of the Ashford mansion, they knew that they had found their forever home, their forever love, a new beginning, a new chapter in the story of their lives, and they couldn't wait to see where it would take them next.